All righty. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, we haven't done anything yet. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see all of you here. I've been sitting, waiting and listening. You know, one of the glorious things about events like these is that when people walk in, they know somebody. There's hugs, there's handshakes, there's, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And tonight, I am delighted to see the amount of people who are here. This is our 37th annual celebration. We have one person, at least in the audience, who has been to all 37. And I believe we have a couple of people who are brand new to the art of storytelling. And for the first time ever, we have 32 people viewing us online, wherever that may be. Hello, hello. Stories bring us together. They really do. They are filled with wit, wonder, wisdom, and they brighten our lives. Celebration started right here. J.G. Pinkerton really believed in the power of storytelling. And so for this entire month, throughout Connecticut, throughout the entire United States, and in a whole host of other countries, stories are being told under the umbrella of celebration. And you know, I like to think of all those events as these little story sparks, an entire constellation that brings warmth and light to this world that badly needs it. So I am so glad you are here. It is my honor to read the Storytelling Proclamation. You all have it on the front of your program. You don't have to read it. Do you notice the type on mine? And I put on my glasses, so here we are. In the name of storytelling, Saturday, November 1st, 2025, is hereby proclaimed to be Celebration, the worldwide event of storytelling. As J.G. Papa Pinkerton once said, may what the tellers share bring joy to many people, and may the listeners come to know that through storytelling, we can draw closer together in peace, in friendship, and in love. We celebrate the connection that stories give us. And during this month, in many states, in other countries, and here in Connecticut, where it all began, hundreds of audiences are gathered together for this spectacular storytelling event, Celebration. So without further delay, in joy and anticipation, let the stories begin. So our first teller tonight is ChaChanna Simpson. Now, ChaChanna has a lot of interests. She loves to visit historic homes. She's a fan of scary movies, but she will not watch them alone. She writes flash fiction. She's a Reiki practitioner. She reads tarot cards. All of these things nourish her stories. Her personal tales are real-life slices that show us the beauty of ordinary days. Her stories connect us. You can find yourself as you listen going, oh yeah, me too, I know what you're talking about. They make us laugh, and they make us think. ChaChanna Simpson.
She wanted to do it?
No. Sorry, you know, you hire somebody and they fall down on the job in the first 15 minutes. Could everybody find that little cell phone that you own? Just find it and make sure it's turned off. Thank you. Now they'll let me do this job again. Thanks so much.
All right. Ever since preschool, I have enjoyed learning. What I love more is knowing my mother knows how smart her daughter is. In kindergarten, I get straight Y's for, yes, she's a genius. When I get good grades, I get toys. I'm coasting along on my natural brilliance when I hit a snag, 3rd grade math. Mrs. Freeman and her stupid 1-minute quizzes. 60 seconds, a cajillion equations that I never get done in time. But it's okay, because it's not graded. So my mother never has to know that her daughter can't do math on the fly. I try though, but it just doesn't click. The math ain't mathing, like at all. On tests, I get B's and sometimes C's, still okay. The danger zone is getting a D or an F. If you get one of those, you have to bring it home to get it signed by a parent. One day, Mrs. Friedman returns my test, slides it on the desk, and there it is, an F staring at me. My chest tightens. My first thought is, there's no way I'm showing this to my mother. My next thought is, my mother expects, no. My mother demands A's and B's from me. And I really don't want to disappoint her. I'm the smart one. I get the gold stars, the good grades. I have a reputation to protect. But this test still needs to be signed. I know what I'll do. I'll sign her signature. How hard can it be? I have old permission slips in my book bag. I've got this. My grandmother comes and picks me up and brings me to her house, like always. I sit in the living room watching TV, waiting for my mother to come pick us up after work. And while my grandmother is making dinner, I bring out the test and I start practicing my mother's signature. I get it down till I know every loop, slant, and curve. Perfect match. I sign the test, bring it into school the next day. Crisis averted. Or so I think. During homeroom, we're painting Easter eggs. I poke the hole in the top of the egg and the bottom of the egg, and I blow out the yolk just like Mrs. Samperi taught me. In walks Mrs. Friedman. We lock eyes. She goes over to my homeroom teacher. They whisper something. Then she turns to me with my test in hand, and she says, "Shauna, did your mother sign this test?" I don't say yes. I don't say no. I stand there. She doesn't even bother wait for the reply. My silence says everything. "Give this to your mother." She hands me an envelope. My hand shakes as I reach for the plain, white, sealed, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, envelope. This is worse than getting an F on a test. With a test, I could have smoothed things over, but this sealed document, I'm never gonna have snacks or watch TV again, trouble. I take the envelope, I walk over to my cubby, I put it in my book bag. After school, as I'm waiting for my mother to come pick up me and my brother, I try to formalize how I'm going to tell her. On the ride home, I think about it. I want to do it, but I'm too scared. When we get home, I run to my bedroom, throw the envelope under the bed, and I crawl under the covers. Maybe if I hide, it'll all just go away. The next morning when I wake up, I am physically ill, vomiting. Every time I think about telling my mother, I'm back in the bathroom. My mother, bless her, she let me stay home. I get to lay in bed, watch cartoons, and eat popsicles. Basically, a sick day dream. But it doesn't matter. The test, the signature, the envelope, it's weighing heavy on me. I can't even enjoy this day. In the evening, my mom comes, she sits on the bed. Were you supposed to give me something from your teacher yesterday? I can't read her expression. Yes? Where is it? I get the envelope from under the bed and I hand it to her. As she's opening it, she says, I got a call from your principal today. He wanted to know why you didn't come into school. He said the teacher said you kind of panicked when she gave you this envelope. She starts reading. She stops to look at me. They thought I was abusing you, and that's why you didn't come in. I say nothing. I just wait. She finishes reading the letter, and then she laughs. Well, there's no point in me punishing you now. I mean, you've already done it to yourself. She's right. The next day, I go back to school, knowing that the next time that I need to deliver bad news, I'm just gonna rip it off like a Band-Aid. All that worrying for something I could have handled in 30 seconds, half the time it takes to do one of Mrs. Friedman's stupid quizzes. Thank you. And you would have thought that I would have learned to stop worrying, but I just got better at it as I got older. It's Friday afternoon, 4:30. I am a copy editor at a sports entertainment company. While the company is experiencing its biggest event of the year, I'm trying to figure out how I can sneak out of here early without anybody finding me. I grab my things, I walk around the corner, right into Sarah, the project manager. Oh, Sean, I'm so glad I caught you. We have this logo that has to go out, and it has to go out tonight. Can you look at it, please? I was so close to freedom. All right, I tell her. I go back to my desk, I look at the job she's assigned me, and there's a logo, the blah, blah, blah. And I notice with the, there are two T's, T-T-H-E. That's weird. I go over to Sarah, I tell her my correction. She says, see, ChaChanna, that's why we keep you around. Whatever. We walk over to the designer so I can point out his mistake, he can fix it, and we can all go home early. Except he says, that's not my art. I picked it up off of the approved shirt. My stomach plummets. I do remember that logo that was on a shirt that I approved the week before that has already been printed and is already currently being sold at the company's biggest event of the year. Right? There's no way that that mistake was on there. I caught it now, I would have caught it then. I am good at my job. I walk back to my desk and I look up the job, the archives. I find it, the logo, the blah, blah, blah. The two T's are there. I walk back over to Sarah's desk and I see that she's looking at the shirt too. She's like, you know what, ChaChanna? Don't worry about it. We won't change it so it matches the shirt. And if anyone says anything, we'll say it was a design choice. Honestly, I was okay with that. Because if no one sees it, it didn't happen and I don't get in trouble. But before we move forward, she wanted to talk to our immediate boss so that she was in the loop. We explained the situation to our boss. Not only did she not support our plan, she didn't back our plan, she turned out to be a snitch and said that now that she knew, she had to report this to the senior vice president. I walk back to my desk. Tears are now forming in my eyes. I know what is gonna happen when she sends that email. I start taking down my photos, clearing my things, and I fill 3 shopping bags, the culmination of the 9 years I spent at the company. It is 6 p.m. I am no longer leaving early. I am leaving forever. On the ride home, I think, what's gonna happen to me now? Are they gonna call me and tell me never to come in? Because they did that to someone else before. How much money do I have? Do I have enough money to keep me in the lifestyle I've become accustomed to? And for how long? How am I gonna get another job as a copy editor if I miss something? How am I gonna handle that in an interview? You know what? I don't wanna be a copy editor anymore anyway. It's really time for me to move on in my career. By the time I get home, I have two missions. One is I search every social media with the hashtag to see if anyone is talking about the shirt. The other, I'm on LinkedIn, dreaming up a new career. By Sunday night, I have convinced myself this career pivot is gonna be awesome, and everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Monday morning, I go back to my desk, and I sit, and I wait to be called into the senior vice president's office. And 8 years later, I'm still waiting. Thank you. I spent years worrying about mistakes I have made. Panicking, actually. And then life showed me what panic really feels like. It's Friday night. I'm home on the couch, eating a sausage pizza, watching House of Cards, episode 1 of season 2. I'm locked in. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a bug dancing. I swat at it, stupid bug. In the 7 years I've lived in this apartment, I have come to discover every insect in my town has originated from my home. I have found carpenter bees, millipedes, centipedes, insects, I don't even know what they are. And one morning I woke up to find tiny baby spiders living their best life all over my windowsill. Ugh. When I see one more bug, I don't pay any mind. Until it grows bigger and flies across the ceiling. That's when I toss the sausage pizza, jump up, and run to my bathroom, slamming the door shut. Immediately, I recognize my mistake. It's dark in there. The light switch is on the other side of the door. Now, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if there are more of them. More importantly, I don't know if I've just locked myself in the room with all of them. I dash across the hallway, dive into my bedroom, slamming the door shut. In the confines and safety of my bedroom, I ponder, how did a bird get into my apartment? There are no windows open, there are no vents it can crawl through. Like, how did it get in? I have no idea. Then I start doubling over in laughter at my situation. I'm an adult. I'm a grown woman. Terrified to leave the bedroom because the bird might get me. I pull myself together enough to formalize a plan. I'm going to open up the front door, allow the bird to see the light, fly into it into the hallway, and become somebody else's problem. I summon all the courage I have left. 3, 2, 1, I run to the apartment door, open it wide, I crouch a little bit to see the bird fly over me. It does. I see fangs, I see brown fur. Oh my God, that is not a bird, that is a bat. Did Count Dracula send his minions to come get me? I'm not ready. It doesn't fly out the hallway, but I do, into the light to become my neighbor's problem. Knocking on my neighbor's door, I have no idea what I'm gonna say. As soon as I see a little crack, I blurt out, "Hi, I'm your neighbor from across the way. I have a bat in my apartment. I don't know what to do. You have any suggestions?" He looks at me. "Was that you I heard screaming a few moments ago?" "I just thought you were listening to a movie really loudly." Yeah, that was me," I said out loud. And to myself, I was like, I don't remember screaming. My neighbor comes over with 2 tennis rackets. We search the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, the living room, no bat to be found. I grab my shoes, my jacket, my purse, my keys. I am not staying in an apartment with a rogue bat. I'm going to my mama's house. 2 blocks over, I reach my destination. The house is dark, she's not home, rude. That's okay, I have a key. I text my mom, "There's a bat in my apartment, so I'm staying in your place." Saturday morning, I wake up on the pull-out couch in my brother's old bedroom, which my mother has turned into her playroom, surrounded by Beanie Babies and plants. I contemplate, how does one get a bat out of their apartment? I I know someone. I know a home inspector who has a weekly show. I will call him. He will know what to do. I dial into the show, I explain my situation, ready to take in the solution. What I get is laughed at. He is amused, I am afraid of a bat. His guest joins in on the fun. Both of them are mocking me. When they've had their fill, I finally get some information that's useful to me. He tells me to find a bat specialist. Bat specialist, I've never heard of that. I Googled bat specialist and I find the bat marshal. The bat marshal meets me at my home. We search the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, the living room. No bat to be found. He says that makes sense. Bats are small. They crawl into tiny crevices and making it nearly impossible to find during the day. His suggestion was for me to wait until the bat pops out at night and then call him. There is no part of this conversation I'm enjoying. Yet, Saturday night, I'm on the phone with my best friend while I'm on Bat Watch. As Harry Potter is battling he who shall not be named, I am struggling to stay awake. It is 11:30. All the stress, all the fear, it has just drained me. I tell my friend I'm not gonna make it. She does her best to rally me. You can do it, you're almost there. I'm not gonna make it. I thank her for her service, disconnect the call, and I go to bed at my mama's house. The bat marshal suggested I not stay with a disappearing bat, and I couldn't agree more. Sunday morning, I wake up furious with myself. I wasted a perfectly beautiful Saturday fearing a bat. This is beneath me. I walk back into that bat cave and I carry on as if it is a regular day. I do the dishes, I do laundry. I even take a nap on the couch to show that bat I ain't afraid. When night falls, I go to sleep in my own bed, wrapped around 3 blankets, just to be sure. In the morning, I wake up unscathed and not a vampire. This is victory. I never do see the bat again. Maybe its dead carcass is still in the apartment. Maybe it left the same way it came in. Either way, I learned something about courage. Sometimes it's running to your mama's house to regroup, and then coming back, heart pounding, legs trembling, ready to face whatever is next, bat or not. Thank you.
Oh, that is so much fun. I could sit and listen to you for hours. And afterwards, when we gather, I will tell you my bat story. I know. The oral tradition existed long before we had the printing press or books. It was passed from generation to generation, mouth to ear, and you know, it's still alive. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than to know stories have been passed to the next generation. Tonight, we have Callie Harper, a 9th grader who is making her debut on the Telebration stage right here in front of us. And even though she's in 9th grade, Callie has many, many interests. She carries a sketchbook in her purse that she brings out whenever she gets inspired to write down or draw what she's feeling. She's an avid crocheter. For her bat mitzvah project, she crocheted animals, like stuffed animals, not real animals. And because she does love animals, she sold these creatures and gave the money to the World Wildlife Federation. So I am delighted, and I hope you will be too, to welcome a newcomer to the stage, Callie Harper.
All right, don't mind me getting covered over this. Too short for this. All right, that should be good. Okay, I'm gonna teach you guys a little song before I get started. It goes like this. I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. This is going to be integrated into part of the story, so let's see if you all can do it with me, all right? I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. All right, perfect. I think everyone's got it. All right, there we go. Once upon a time, a cat and a mouse kept house. You can see how this might have been a problem, especially because the mouse was always cooking and the cat was always hungry. One day, the mouse had made a fresh batch of pies when the cat walked into the kitchen. He smelled the yummy pies and he began to lick his lips. No, no, cat, don't eat that, said the mouse. Don't eat that, but I'm still a hungry cat, said the cat. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up all 42 of the pies that the mouse had just made. Now, do you think that cat had had enough? No, he had not. He began to walk out of his house singing, I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. He came across a yard where a gardener was gardening. He was raking the leaves with his rake and mowing the lawn with his lawnmower. The cat saw the lawnmower and the rake, and he began to lick his lips. No, no, cat, don't eat that, said the gardener. Don't eat that, but I'm still a hungry cat, said the cat. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the rake. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the lawnmower. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the gardener and all the leaves and all the grass, too. Now, do you think that cat had had enough? No, he had not. He began to walk out of the yard and he started singing his song. I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. He came to an empty lot where some men were building a wall with their bricks and shovels. He saw the bricks and shovels, and he began to lick his lips. No, no, cat, don't eat that, said the men. Don't eat that, but I'm still a hungry cat, said the cat. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the bricks. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the shovels. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up all the men working on the wall, and the wall, too. Now, do you think this cat had had enough? No, he had not. He began to walk out of the now empty lot, singing, I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. He came to a corner where some Boy Scouts were boarding a school bus for a camping trip. They had all their camping gear and backpacks in a great big pile. And they were about to board the yellow school bus when the cat came by. He saw their backpacks and camping gear, and he began to lick his lips. No, no, cat, don't eat that, said one of the little Boy Scouts. Don't eat that, but I'm still a hungry cat, said the cat. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the backpacks. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the camping gear. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up all the Boy Scouts and the great big school bus, too. Now, do you think that cat had had enough? No, he had not. So he began to walk on home, singing, I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I'm still a hungry cat. Well, he came on home, and he walked into the house, and he saw Mouse sitting on her little rocking chair. cutting some cloth with her itty-bitty scissors and sewing with her tiny needle and thread. The cat saw her needle, thread, and scissors, and he began to lick his lips. "No, no, cat, don't eat that," said the mouse. "Don't eat that, but I'm still a hungry cat," said the cat, and with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the needle and thread. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up the cloth and the scissors. And with a slip, slop, slurp, he gobbled up Mouse and her rocking chair too. Now, do you think that cat had had enough? Maybe he had. He began to prowl around the house, and he started singing his song, "I ate this and I ate that, but meow, 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 I was such a hungry cat." Inside the cat, Mouse looks around. She sees the gardener with his rake and his lawnmower. She sees all the men with their bricks and shovels. She sees the Boy Scouts with their backpacks and camping gear. And she even sees the great big school bus, too. "Why are you all just sitting in here looking miserable?" said the mouse. "He may be a hungry cat, but enough is enough." The mouse grabbed her little tiny sewing scissors, and she began to cut a hole in the fat cat's tummy. She led everyone out. Out came the gardener with his rakes and his lawnmowers. Out came the men with their bricks and their shovels. Out came the Boy Scouts with their backpacks and camping gear. And Mouse even drove out the great big school bus herself, too. And everyone went right back to what they were doing. Except for Mouse, of course. She was busy sewing up the fat cat's tummy. Because after all, they were still best friends. And after that day, Mouse made sure to never bake quite so many pies again. And Cat always ate all of his fruits and vegetables when he got hungry. And he made sure to share plenty with Mouse, too. Now, do you think that cat had had enough? Yes, he finally had.
There we go. Callie, that was fantastic. Can you believe she's a first-time teller? Don't you think she's great? She does come by it honestly. Both her parents are storytellers, but personally, I think you have a style that is all your own. Our next teller is Ron Sopyla. Ron gathers inspiration, you know, that elusive grace of the muses, in a variety of places. But Ron is really a story gardener. That little flash of inspiration is something that he takes and then cultivates with a great deal of attention, research, sensibility, and he waits until that story blooms. And then he shares it with us with a great deal of heart and caring. And so it will be with the story he tells us tonight. Ron Sopyla.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to get a look at everybody first. Many of you know part of the story I'll be telling tonight. It's the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife from the Hebrew Bible. You also find it in the Quran, but in each case, it's done in just a few sentences. But over time, many Islamic poets have embroidered the story until it's become a major romance of Islamic literature. I've based my telling on many different texts, but the primary text I use was by a 15th century Persian poet, Abdul Rahman Jami. He wrote in what's present-day Afghanistan, but back then it was called The Kingdom of the Turquoise Mountain. He wrote the story when he was in his 70s. And of it, he said, "Since I first tasted my mother's milk, I have lived in love. Now that my beard is as white as my mother's milk, I must write a story about love." Now, I found this story many decades ago, and when I read that, I thought I understood it. But I'm 73 now, and I gotta tell you, the longing doesn't stop. When Adam first opened his eyes, God granted him a vision of all of his descendants gathered together, and we were all there, our faces beautiful and shining. But one man's beauty eclipsed the rest of ours as a full moon does the stars. This was Yusuf. He was the most beautiful creature God ever created. And the reason for his beauty was this: in his countenance, God let a fraction of his own beauty shine forth. And everyone who looked on him loved him. He was his father Jacob's favorite of all of his children. One night, Yusuf had a dream. He was standing in a field, and the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to him. He told his father the dream, and Jacob warned his son, "Tell no one this dream." But Yusuf did not understand the human heart. He was in love with God. He knew God was in love with him. He knew he was a reflection of God's beauty, and everybody loved him. By the age of 17, he believed that everyone must love him more than they love themselves. And he told his brothers his dream. The next day, they went to their father and asked for permission to take Yusuf into the country for the first time to watch the sheep. They carried him on their shoulders until they were out of sight of their father's tents, and then they dropped him on the ground and they beat him without mercy. They plotted his death, but the oldest brother stopped them. He said, "We don't want blood on our hands. I know a well as deep and as foul as the heart of a torturer. We'll leave him in the well. If he's rescued by a passing caravan, if he dies in the well, it means nothing to us." They stripped Yusuf naked. They tied a rope around his waist, and they lowered him into the well. When the rope was halfway played out, one of the brothers cut it, and Yusuf came plummeting down into the darkness. But rising up out of the darkness was the bright angel Gabriel, who caught Yusuf in his arms, and he said, "Don't be afraid. You will live to know perfect revenge on your brothers. You will live to forgive them." And he stroked Yusuf's cheek with his finger, and Yusuf began to glow with angelic light. A few days later, a caravan passed by on the way to Egypt. They stopped for water. They dropped a bucket down the well, and Gabriel said again to Yusuf, "Rise up. Your beauty will be like light, will be like water to these thirsty men." When Yusuf rose out of the well, it was like a full moon rising at night, and the men were astonished by his beauty, but their only thought was, what a price he'll bring on the slave market in Egypt. On the other side of Egypt lived a princess named Zuleika. She was 15, she was beautiful, she was innocent, and she was perfectly happy because she had never been in love. One night she had a dream. She dreamt she was walking through a field and she saw a young man so beautiful that the sun and the moon and all the stars bowed down to him. She asked him his name. He said, "I am the Grand Vizier of Egypt, and one day I will burn with love for you." When she woke, she cried to dream again. The dream was so real. But she ran to her father and she said, "Father, I'm old enough to get married. Send a messenger to Egypt, to the Grand Vizier. Tell him I want to marry him." Her father sent a little picture. The Grand Vizier was pleased with her appearance, was pleased with the dowry, and the marriage was arranged. The night before the wedding, they met 2 caravans outside the city walls of Memphis. They were not allowed to see each other before the wedding. They were each in their own tent. In the dark of night, Zuleika crept out of her tent with a little sharp knife, and she cut a slit in the tent of the Grand Vizier, and she peered inside, and she saw him sleeping, his face bathed in golden lamplight, and he was beautiful. But he wasn't the man from her dream. She cursed silently. She said, God, how could you do this to me? And God spoke to Zuleika. He said, it is not the man from your dream, but you will only meet him through the Grand Vizier. But I'm a virgin, said Zuleika. What can I do? God said, don't be afraid. He cannot open your silver lock with a key made of wax. The next day they were married, and Zuleika proved a good wife. She was very kind to the vizier and kind to everyone at court, and the vizier loved her. But whenever he approached her, a great weakness overcame him. Sometimes God is merciful. One day, Zuleika was returning from the country, being carried in a sedan chair through the city, and there was a great uproar in the slave market. A beautiful Hebrew slave was on the block, and rich men and rich women were opening their treasuries trying to buy this young man. There was an old woman all dressed in black. All she had for disposable wealth was a dirty ball of yarn that she had spun herself. She said, I offer it. It won't work, I know, but such beauty demands an effort. When Zuleika peered out of her chair and she saw Yusuf on the block, she fell out of the chair. She ran to the Grand Vizier. She said, come to the slave market. There's a beautiful slave on the block. We have no children. Buy him. He can be our son. The Vizier came to the market. He was pleased with Yusuf. He made a bid, but it was quickly doubled and then tripled. Then Zuleika, from under her cloak, took a little gold casket of pearls, each one worth a treasury. She made the bid. It was accepted. And young Yusuf stepped down into the arms of younger Zuleika to be his son, to be her son. She proved to be a good mother. She took good care of him. At night, she would sit over his bed and she would fan cool breezes over his face. But inside, she was burning. And finally, one day, she spoke of her love in extravagant language. She said, my heart is a great tear of blood. If you open my veins, you'll find nothing but anguish. And Yusuf looked at her and said, from all the atoms of the world, God created a multitude of mirrors, and into each he cast the image of his face. If you see something that is beautiful, that is worthy of love, know that it is but a reflection of that countenance. Don't be content with reflections. Seek the source of the light. Zuleika said, I don't understand Hebrew. She made a garden for him. Exquisite. Flowering trees and shrubs, marble pathways, fountains, and in the center, a bed. She called into the garden 12 virgins. She said, do whatever he asks you to do. Make love to him. But if he asks you to lie with him, tell him to wait until dark and then get me. Zuleika spent a sleepless night. At first light, she ran down into the garden and she found Yusuf seated on the bed, surrounded by the maids, preaching. From all the atoms of the world, God created a multitude of mirrors, and into each he cast the image of his face. If you see anything that you think is beautiful, worthy of love, know that it is but a reflection of that countenance. Don't be content with reflections. Seek the source of the light. She built a palace for Yusuf. Palace of 7 rooms. Each room was nested inside the other. The walls of each room were painted as a garden with lovers, Yusuf and Zuleika. In the first room, they made eye contact. In the second room, they touched. In the third room, they spoke for the first time. On and on and on. She led him into the first room. She locked the door behind her with an iron bolt, and she spoke of her love. Yusuf looked at his feet. She thought, small wonder, his feet are more beautiful than my face. She led him into the second room, and she locked the door, and she begged for his love. Into the third room, and she locked the door, and she demanded his love, and on until the seventh and the smallest room, large enough only for two people to stand close together and a bed. He could feel her breath on his chest, and he began to weaken. He raised his eyes and he looked at the walls of the room. Pornography. He began to untie his belt and then tie it up again, and then untie it and tie it again. She said, "What's stopping you?" He said, "Two things, your husband and my God." She said, "My husband I'll poison in the morning. Your God, if he's as merciful as everyone says he is, I will pay priests to pray for us." Then she drew a little knife, like a willow leaf, from her belt, and she held it to her throat. Yusuf grabbed her hand, and she dropped the knife, and Yusuf was lost. He embraced her. She embraced him as an oyster does a pearl. But then something happened. Different versions tell it two different ways. In one version, the angel Gabriel appears, no bigger than a fly, in the shape of his father, and bites him on the thumb. In the other version, Yusuf sees a little niche in the wall covered by a curtain and two delicate gold feet sticking out underneath. He said, "What's that?" She said, "Oh, that's my goddess. I don't want her to see what we're about to do." And Yusuf thought of his God, the master of the universe. Nothing can be hidden from him. He turned for the door. The bolt burst open. He ran from room to room. The doors burst open in front of him until in the seventh room, Zuleika grabbed the back of his shirt. It tore. The door burst open and he ran into the arms of the Grand Vizier. Zuleika said, "He tried to rape me." And Yusuf stumbled for words, trying to save his life and Zuleika's honor. And the Grand Vizier was flummoxed. He didn't know what to do. He knew of Zuleika's passion for Yusuf. He loved Yusuf himself. But life had been so comfortable. But then the problem was solved by a baby. One of Zuleika's maids was walking by holding a newborn baby, his mouth still wet from his mother's milk, and the baby spoke. The baby said, "It's easy. If the shirt is torn in the front, Zuleika is telling the truth. If the shirt is torn in the back, Yusuf is telling the truth. I'm a baby. I always tell the truth." The shirt was torn in the back. The Grand Vizier let it pass, but Zuleika could not. Word of her passion spread like smoke through the court, and finally she asked the Grand Vizier, "Throw him in prison. Save my honor. At least he'll be out of my sight." And so Yusuf was sent to prison, and Zuleika imprisoned herself in a chamber overlooking the prison. All day she sat in a chair by the window, looking at Yusuf's window, the window of his cell. She sat as immovable as a mountain, with two streams of tears eroding her face. Yusuf's prison career was successful. He interpreted the dreams of the prisoners and they came true. And then the Pharaoh was troubled by strange dreams. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 lean cows. 7 plump stalks of wheat strangled by 7 withered stalks of wheat. And Yusuf was called for to interpret the dreams, but he refused. He said, "Free me from prison, restore my honor." And he did. He interpreted the dreams. 7 years of rich harvests, followed by 7 years of famine. "What can we do?" said the Pharaoh. "Who can prepare the kingdom?" Yusuf said, "I can." And so Yusuf was made Grand Vizier. and his former master, the former Grand Vizier, retired and died soon after. Zuleika could no longer live in a palace ruled by Yusuf, so she crept out one night, all dressed in black. She looked like a shadow creeping against the wall. No one would have recognized her had they seen her, for though a woman of 40, she looked like a woman of 80. Her skin was wrinkled, her back was bent, her hair was gray, her eyes almost blind with cataracts. All she took with her was a little gold casket, the remainder of her dowry, all the pearls, and her little gold goddess. She went to live in a hut made of reeds at the edge of the city, surrounded by a fence of reeds, and when the breeze blew over, the reeds seemed to whisper his name, Yusuf, Yusuf. People came by with news of Yusuf, and she would always give them a pearl. Soon people came by telling the most outrageous lies about him. She gave them pearls. She knew they were lies. She just wanted to hear his name. The casket was broken up and given away, and all she had left was her little gold goddess. One night, she felt life leaving her, and she clutched her little goddess and she prayed, light enough for my eyes to see Yusuf, to be in the air with him. And the next morning she heard him riding by on his horse. She could hear his voice. She dropped her little goddess. She ran out. She lifted her arms and she screeched his name, but it frightened the horse. His horse reared up and struck her in the forehead, and she fell to the ground bleeding. The horse rode away. She crawled into the hut. She grabbed her little goddess and she lifted it over her head and she cursed. She said, useless, useless. All my life I prayed to you for your beauty's sake, to possess beauty, to be loved, and I'm blind, I'm alone. And she smashed it on the hearthrug. Little grains of incense that had been trapped inside behind its eyes fell onto the embers, and as the hut filled with the sweet smoke, her heart opened, and she began to pray for the first time to a God beyond comprehension of the senses. And inexplicably, she addressed this God as love. Oh, love, she said, I've made my world so narrow. Open me that I may grow. At that moment, Yusuf came back. He wanted to check on the old woman. He heard the prayer. He knew a good prayer. He went into the hut. She turned. She knew it was him, and she smiled. He stared at the old woman. He said, who are you? She said, Zuleika. What happened to your beauty? Withered, denied your light, your eyes drowned in tears. Why is your back so bent? Under burden of separation from you, your wealth given away for news of you. And Yusuf stepped back and he had a little private conversation with God. Why not let her die? And God said, why let her die? She loves you almost as much as I do. But why let her suffer? Sometimes I do that, said God. Seeds must crack before they grow. Now look. And Zuleika was enveloped in a curtain of shimmering light. And within that curtain, thousands of sharp little blades of light cutting away at the wrinkled skin, cutting away at the cataracts covering her eyes, cutting away at the gray hair. And when the light cleared, she stood before him, a beautiful woman, straight. And then a ray of light, light upon light, struck her full in the face. And when that light cleared, her vision was restored. And she saw the world and everything in it, and Yusuf within it, in perfect perspective. Love her, said God. She's given her life for you. And then God stepped away from Yusuf, just the distance of a crack in a stone. But that was enough to create such a gulf in his soul that only the love of Zuleika could fill it. They married. They knew all the pleasures of married life. They had children and grandchildren. And one morning, when Yusuf was 110, he was mounting his horse to go riding, and Gabriel appeared. He said, "Take your foot out of the stirrup. You'll go riding no more." In his hand, he held an apple freshly picked from the Garden of Paradise. Remember the smell of apples? And the fragrance was such that Yusuf was filled with a longing to see that garden, and so he passed over. When Zuleika heard the news, she fell on the floor and lay motionless for 3 times 3 days. When she came to, they led her to the grave, a dry mound of dirt under the sun. She took her fingernails and plunged them into her eye sockets, and she pulled out her eyes and threw them in the dirt. She said, "What good is sight when the light of my world is gone?" And with blood streaming down her face, she died. Her maids washed her body, and they wrapped it in a green cloth like a jasmine bud. They opened the grave, and they laid her next to Yusuf. And now they're together in that great choir that Adam saw on the first day. Yusuf, a full moon of beauty, and Zuleika, a planet of unwavering light. And that's the story. Thank you.
It's hard to come out of the spell, isn't it? It really is. One of the things that I believe is true about stories, and definitely about that story, is that the images remain with you. And they will stay with you, they'll percolate, and they will come at some time when you need them and add some sort of understanding. That is the power of stories and of images so well told. Thank you. You really are a lovely audience. I have to tell you, you can feel it. You really can feel it. We're going to have a musical interlude. John Coperine. I did get it right, didn't I? Yes. So John, of course, was an educator, an administrator for 30 years. And one of the joys of that job was just helping kids, young children, to become who they were meant to be. But I think he also has a side hustle. He is a musician, started out in rock and roll, did a little work in coffee houses, opened up for bands like Taj Mahal and Aztec Two-Step. And when I asked him, "So what are you doing now?" Well, his face lit up. Because one of his favorite things to do right now is to go into senior centers or senior residents or whatever we want to call them and play for the people there. They appreciate what he does, and he brings joy to all of them, as he will to us. John.
So, yes, Lorraine, I do sing for old folks, and now I am one. I don't know how that happened. I'm going to sing you a couple of original songs, and then one that I hope you're going to sing along with. All right, this one's about losing somebody. I keep losing time, wondering where I'm going. But I guess it's fine, can't be standing still. You're still on my mind, love that you were showing. You're not coming back, and you never will. Seems so long ago when we were together, walking side by side underneath the moon. But those days are gone, now you left me crying, wondering what to say, wondering what to do. Hold me tight, let me know that everything is gonna be alright. Just tonight, beg and please, we could start anew. If you can forgive me for promises I made but forgot to keep. People never change. Remember when you told me, but I'm changing now, and I hope you see. Hold me tight, let me know that everything is gonna be alright. Just tonight, beg and please, hold me tight, let me know that everything is gonna be alright. Just tonight, beg and please, we could start anew. If you can forgive me for promises I made but forgot to keep. People never change. Remember when you told me, but I'm changing now, and I hope you see. Losing somebody. This one's about redemption. I have seen the shining light in my life sometimes, and I have cried, lost in deep despair, just like I could die. Far away, which draws nearer, won't be long, I'll see much clearer. Left alone, shaken to the bone, I was lost for sure. Seems the strain got into my brain and I asked for more. I tried to think about tomorrow, should have known it'd start with sorrow. But then came you. With your starry eyes, you said, let's start anew. I loved twice. For the first time, I would have to pay the price. And that's not always nice. that I lost my head, but to my surprise, you played a trick, cut me to the quick with your strange disguise. I've grown apart from that which held me. Now I'll start to see what I can see. Then came you with your starry eyes. You said, let's start anew. I looked twice. For the first time I would have to pay the price, and that's not always nice. You're so sweet. Now cut that out. I know it's a Saturday night and you got nothing better to do. Me neither. Because this is the best place to be. Gotta tell you, second time being involved with storytellers, and I tell my stories through song, but it's the same thing. You know, you try to tell something honest. And I gotta say, you know, ChaChanna and Ron and Callie so far, I mean, they're just telling it, you know, they're telling it truthfully. And I want you to join me in singing this song. It's a James Taylor song. You can play the game, you can act out the part, but you know it wasn't written for you. Tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool? One thing can lead to another. It doesn't take any sacrifice. Whoa, father and mothers, sisters and brothers, if it feels nice, don't think twice. Say, just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. That's right. Things are gonna be just fine if you only will. Do as I say, yeah. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. You can run, but you cannot hide. This is widely known. And what you plan to do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself alone. Once you tell somebody the way that you feel, you can feel it beginning to ease. I think it's true what they say about the squeaky wheel, always getting the grease. Better to shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be just fine if you only will. Do as I say, yeah. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. Thank you.
do it all.
I missed your mic.
No, it's just me and technology. It just doesn't.
Here, bump you in the head. More or less in business.
All right, thank you so much. And honestly, thank you for that song. That is exactly what we needed to hear and what we need to do for sure. After our last teller, you are all invited through that door and up the hill to the fellowship hall for cookies and cider. You get to talk to these people and tell them what you thought of their stories. You can have conversations. You can enjoy yourself. It's a wonderful thing to do. And it really is a gracious part of this event. I also want to let you know that at the back, we have something called the tip jar, because the money that's raised through the Connecticut Storytelling Center's events is used to fund their Storytellers in the Schools program. As a teaching artist in that program, I can tell you that it is extraordinarily worthwhile. Not only do stories help children learn, they bring a great deal of joy to their life in a day. So if you can possibly spare some change, put it in that jar. And if you want to know more about these kinds of events that the Connecticut Storytelling Center does, just find a member of the production committee, and don't worry, you'll know exactly who they are. They will be the ones handing out the cookies and the cider. And ask them, that you want to be put on their email list. Trust me, we don't sell your information. As I've often said, I don't even think we would know how to do that. And we would only share a few events of what is going on. So if you want to stay informed and hear more stories, sign up for our email list. Our last teller. I hate to use that word last, don't you? Oh, the basket. See, I'm really going to get fired from my job, I'm telling you. We have a basket, a silent auction basket. It is, as it was described to me, a foodie basket made by a very dear friend of the Connecticut Storytelling Center. And so it's in where the cookies and cider is. There is a sheet. It's a silent auction. You can bid. And the last person with the highest number gets to go home with the basket. It's not a bad deal. As I said, I hate to use the word last. A night like tonight, you just want the stories to go on forever. Laconia Therrio. Well, I was going to introduce him as a chaplain. He is a chaplain at the Stamford Hospital, but as I was sitting here waiting for the event to start, I was watching Laconia. 50% of you got a hug, another 25% got a handshake. So personally, I think he is the mayor of Celebration. But Laconia says about his work, he says, as a chaplain, I don't tell stories. I hear stories. And I think that's a wonderful statement. But at least on one occasion, he did tell a story to a young woman. And it was exactly the story that she needed to hear. A folk tale. Laconia is a lover of folk tales because he said there are lessons in them, not the moral of the story that you had to write on your third grade essay, but that when you listen to a folk tale, you will find a lesson, a message there just for you. Laconia Therrio.
Good evening. I'm going to have her raise her hand, but Sarah DeBeer, would you raise your hand? If you all will look back there, Sarah DeBeer, she and her husband are going to spend the night with me. They will be in a separate bedroom. I'm sitting here tonight and I'm thinking, I took my first workshop, storytelling workshop with Sarah DeBeer 30-something years ago. And I think this is your first celebration here, correct? Okay, all right. I just wanted to get that out, yeah. And then I see Michelle, and I'm going to just tell you my French. I just said, Michelle, what the hell are you doing here? And she goes, well, I wanted to come hear you guys tell stories, so I'm really honored. In 1955, the Montgomery bus boycott started, and for a year, they did not ride the bus. And Rosa Parks got that started. Many cities come up with bus stories. This one is from Patricia McKissick. It's called The Woman in the Snow. Grady Bishop had just gotten his job as a Metro bus driver. When he put on his gray uniform, he felt powerful. Not his obesity, not his being the 11th child of his father, not even his poor education would get in the way of him being a bus driver. Driving gave Grady Bishop power, and power mattered. It was November 2nd, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Grady signed up for his 3 o'clock shift. You got the hall tonight, his boss said. You mean the Blackbird Express? Grady replied. Call it the Hall Street Express, his boss said. Grady didn't like the Hall Street assignment. It would twist and turn like a retreating snake, even in the best weather. When it was with rain and snow, it was even worse. And his boss had told Grady, snow's predicted. If it gets really bad, you cut down the route and you bring her on in. Grady pulled out of the garage at 3:01 p.m. I should tell you the reason why Grady did not like the Blackbird Express. It serviced the black domestics who would go out to the West Hall where all the manicured lawns were. And they would go in through the back door. They would walk out the front door. Never could walk through the front door because that meant they were equal. But he didn't like driving those people. What do those people know about time, he said to his boss. How am I supposed to keep up with them? And as they were getting on and off the bus, the snow began to come down. The temperature was plummeting. Get to the back of the bus. Come on, let's go. Many of the riders, they knew who Grady was, and they were sullen in their appearance. But there was this one old lady, the last one that he dropped off. Come on, Auntie, move yourself along. I got to get this bus going. And that old black woman, she slowly walked down the stairs and she went, Grady said, what? You know, of all the things my brother told me, he never told me he had a white son. You call me Auntie. You know that's what we call, oh, you old colored women. Anthony shut the door. He was angry. He was surprised. But then the weather made him focus or refocus. And as he turned around the east side loop, he saw her. A young woman, maybe 20. And she was pushing herself against the wind, and she was carrying something. No boots, no shawl. And it was windy. What's she doing here? These people. When she came to the door, he opened the door. Come on up. I'm going. And when she walked up the bus, sir, please take me to the hospital. Well, you have to pay. Sir, I don't have any money. No money, no ride. Sir, please, my baby's sick. And she reached and held out her baby to Grady, and he recoiled. No money, no ride. She said, please take my wedding ring. It costs so much more. He said, you young women get all upset over a little baby having a fever. You go on home now. You just go. Please, don't let me get off the bus. You go. The next morning, Grady was eating his breakfast, and he was reading the newspaper. And he came across a small section, colored woman and baby found frozen at the hall. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew where she was going. But Grady Bishop knew. Told her she should have just gone on home. And he turned the paper over and started looking at the comics. About 1 year later, Grady again had the Hall Street assignment. Again, the snow was supposed to come down. Again, his boss said, Grady, if it gets bad out there, bring her on in. After he let off the last passenger, as he turned the bus around the East Loop, he looked. No. There was that woman from last year in the pink shawl, carrying her little baby. He could hear the baby's wail. And he saw her coming toward the bus, and then he heard his father's voice in his background, it's just a ghost dummy. But Grady started arguing with his father's memory. No, it's her. And then she came to the side of the bus, and he could hear the baby's wail. And then the fear came into his heart. And that fear went down his thigh to his calf. And when it hit his right foot, his foot hit the pedal, and the bus careened out of control. And when it slammed against the tree, his spleen was broken. And he said to himself, you've done it now, lunkhead. And as Grady Bishop ushered off into the final darkness, he thought he heard the mother's sobs. He thought he heard the baby's wail. Or was it just the moaning of the wind? 25 years later, Ray Hammond was the first black driver for the Metro bus service, a Korean veteran. As he was putting on his bow tie with his wife, he said, none of the white bus drivers wanted that as a permanent assignment. She said, honey, that's okay. You just do it so that everybody behind you, they'll have a better chance. When Ray Hammond got to the bus station, hey, Ray, the snow's about to come down tonight. You make sure you say hello to Eula Mae Daniels. I didn't believe white folks believed in hates, Ray Hammond said. But as he left the bus garage, Ray Hammond felt something like a little electricity in the air. And then when he let off his last passenger, as he turned around the East Side Loop, he saw her. Slowly coming toward him, pushing herself against the wind, just trying to get to the bus. He heard the baby, and when she comes out right by the door, Ray goes, I don't believe this. Nobody's gonna believe this. He could hear the babies wailing, and he thought, this is crazy. I don't know what to do. And then he thought, this could be my Carolyn in a couple of years. And then he said to himself, cold or no cold, ghost or no ghost, they don't deserve to be out in that weather. And when he opened up the bus door, come on, come on, Eula May just looked at him. Just looked at him. Ray knew what that meant. He'd seen other black passengers look at him the same way, except they weren't dead. Come on. Yep, it's me. Come on up. And he gradually coaxed her up, and she glidelessly came up the steps. Sir, please take me to the hospital. My baby's sick. And she poured out her love story with her husband being in Memphis trying to get a job. Sir, please. Now, hold your head up, he said. You have nothing to be ashamed of. But I don't have any money. I don't have any money, sir. Please. And then Ray thought to himself, the rules say no money, no ride, but it doesn't say anything about a personal loan. And he went for some coins in his pocket, and he found a dime, and he put it in the pay box, and he said, okay, you can go on back now. And she started toward the back. No, you don't sit in the back anymore. You sit up front. And she didn't go all the way up front, but she went further than she'd ever before. As he started slowly driving toward the hospital, toward the garage, Ray started thinking about being in that Korean foxhole one Christmas years ago. This was way colder than that. And then he started talking even when he knew he wasn't supposed to be talking. He was just scared. Got this job because of a woman named Rosa Parks. She started the Montgomery bus boycott, and there was a minister there named Reverend Martin Luther King. We're going to hear a lot about him. Are you listening? And he looked in the rearview mirror. He couldn't see anything, but when he looked over to his left, he could see her. Yeah, a lot of things changing. They've integrated the armed forces, and they got this Catholic guy named Kennedy running for president. What do you make of that? And for some unknown reason, the baby started cooing, and Ray felt warmer. When he reached the hospital, he said, here's your spot. You can get off the bus now. As she stood up, Eula May Daniels looked at Ray and said, you a kind man. Thank you. And as she glidelessly went down the steps, when she reached the ground, Ray said, Miss Eula May? And she looked up at him. You know that dime I gave to you to ride? Don't consider that a loan. Consider it a personal gift. And you don't have to come back if you don't want to. And he thought he saw Eula May Daniels give a crease of a smile. He shut the door, and as he was driving away, he saw the wind and the snow swirl with Eula May Daniels, never to be seen again.
It's a good send-off. Can I just have the tellers come up one more time so that we can give them a round of applause, please? Callie, come on up. Yeah. All right. All right. So there we go. I'm sorry. You said you tell your stories in songs. All right. We thank you all for coming. Join us next door for cider and cookies. And thanks. You've made the start of November absolutely marvelous. Take care and safe home.